The silence in the apartment is a physical thing. It's not just an absence of noise. It's a presence, thick and suffocating, broken only by the low, mournful hum of the refrigerator. It's been 3 days, and the sound of his key in the lock is a ghost I keep waiting for, a hope that dies a little more with every passing hour. The catnip board is still on the coffee table, a miniature, colorful wasteland. His little blue settlements are marooned, his roads leading nowhere. I can almost see him leaning forward, a focused grin on his face as he blocked my path to the longest road, the easy way he laughed with our friends. It was our game, now it just looks like the scene of an accident. I keep walking through the rooms, a detective looking for clues that this wasn't real, but the evidence is overwhelming. His side of the closet is a void of empty hangers, perfectly spaced. The mint toothpaste he loved is gone from the bathroom, and the space feels offensively large now. Even his worn-out running shoes, the ones I always complained about tripping over, are missing from the mat by the door. It wasn't an angry departure. It was a surgical extraction performed with a terrifying calmness. It's as if he was never here at all, and his last words, they echo in the silence. Ren, this wasn't a game, it was a choice. And you made yours. He said it so quietly, without a trace of anger. It was the finality in his voice that shattered me. It wasn't a negotiation, it was a verdict. My phone is a dead weight on the table next to the game pieces. The weapon, I know I screwed up. A part of my brain, the rational part, is screaming it at me. But the rest of me is just lost. I'm stuck in this loop, trying to connect the dots between a stupid, childish impulse and this gaping hole in my life. How could a few thoughtless taps on a screen lead to this? This absolute deafening emptiness? Let me be clear, Reese was the best man I have ever known. He wasn't just a boyfriend. He was my anchor. For 3 years, he was the quiet, steady hum in a life that had always been screeching feedback. He was the one who remembered the name of my boss's dog, the one who would listen for 20 minutes while I vented about a minor work crisis, never once glancing at his phone. He was the one who taught me that love didn't have to be a battlefield, that it could be a quiet Sunday morning with coffee and the newspaper, a shared look across a crowded room, the simple, unspoken comfort of his hand finding mine in the dark. But safety is a foreign language when you've spent years learning to survive in chaos. Before Reese, there was a man who perfected the art of making me feel small. He wouldn't yell or cheat. His weapon was a quiet, soul-crushing neglect. I have a searingly clear memory of telling him my grandmother was sick, tears streaming down my face while he just nodded, his thumb mechanically scrolling through an endless feed of memes. He conditioned me to believe that a partner's attention was a finite resource I had to constantly fight for, and I was always losing. That relationship left me with a deep, ugly scar, a frantic, desperate need for validation. The sickest part is I knew Reese wasn't him. My rational brain knew it every single day. But the scared, wounded animal inside me, the one that Guy had created, refused to believe it could be this easy. So I'd poke. I'd perform these little pathetic loyalty tests, each one a tiny betrayal of his trust. A needy text when I knew he was in the middle of a complex treatment with a patient at his physical therapy clinic. A manufactured crisis that required his immediate attention. Each time he'd meet my panic with calm reassurance, and for a little while the animal would be soothed, even as a wave of shame washed over me. And he had given me the map to his own heart, the one place he was truly vulnerable. He called it the importance of being present. It was his one, non-negotiable rule. I remember the conversation perfectly. We were on a camping trip, the fire crackling, our phones left in the car miles away. He explained, his voice soft with old pain, how his parents, both successful surgeons, had been ghosts at his dinner table, physically there but mentally miles away. He spent his childhood feeling like background noise. I would be telling them about my day, he said, staring into the flames, and I could just see in their eyes they weren't there. It makes you feel like you don't matter. He then looked right at me, his gaze so direct it felt like a vow. When I'm with someone, Ren, I just want us to actually be with each other. It's the only thing I'll ever truly ask for. It wasn't a demand, it was a plea. He was showing me his deepest wound, trusting me implicitly not to pour salt in it. And I swore to him and to myself that I never would. That Saturday night started perfectly. Emily and her husband David came over, takeout bags in hand, the apartment filling with the smell of Thai food and easy laughter. Reese was in his element. He loved hosting, loved the meticulous strategy of Catton, loved the simple joy of having people he cared about in our space. He was glowing. As he laid out the board, explaining a house rule to David with a mock-serious tone, I watched him and felt this overwhelming wave of love, so intense it was almost painful. He was my person and this was our life. Then the game started. Reese got an early lead, securing the best spots for ore and wheat, a strategic move he celebrated with a quiet fist pump. He was focused, engaged, laughing at David's terrible trades and playfully arguing with Emily about the robber placement. He was completely immersed. And that's when the ugly, familiar feelings started to creep in. It began as a faint hum of anxiety, a cold knot of dread in my stomach. He was happy, he was thriving. And for that moment, his world wasn't centered on me. He was in a different space, a shared social space, and I felt like I was on the outside looking in, pressing my face against the glass. My rational brain was screaming at me, "This is good, Ren, this is healthy, look at him, he's happy. This is what you love about him," but the wounded animal was louder, whispering its poison. See. He doesn't need you, he's forgotten you're even here, you're just background noise. The first text was almost innocent. A little test, a small tug on the line to see if he was still there. I pulled out my phone under the table and typed, "I love you, Red." A moment later, I saw his phone light up on the table beside him. He glanced at it, then looked up at me from across the board, his eyes crinkling at the corners in that soft, warm smile that always made me feel safe. A normal person would have stopped there, heartened by the sweet, private exchange. But for me, it wasn't enough. The animal needed more. It needed to know it could pull him away from his joy, that my need was more powerful than his fun. So I sent another, "I need you," pleading face. I watched his face like a hawk. The smile faltered. A tiny crease appeared between his eyebrows. He didn't look at me this time. He just subtly moved his phone so the screen was face down, a clear but gentle boundary. The game continued. The laughter around the table felt like a personal attack. They were all in on a world that was excluding me. My fingers started moving again, almost of their own accord, a compulsion I couldn't stop. "Are you mad at me? I feel so alone right now. Can we talk? Please look at me." Each message was a little stone I was throwing at him, and I could see the ripples of impact. His posture stiffened. His answers to game-related questions became clipped and monosyllabic. The easy joy drained from his face, replaced by a tight, controlled mask of politeness he wore for our guests. Emily shot me a confused, concerned look from across the table. I ignored it, giving her a weak, dismissive wave. In that moment, her opinion didn't matter, only Reese's reaction did. It was a sick, self-destructive high. Part of me was horrified at what I was doing, watching myself sabotage a beautiful evening as if from a great distance. The other part, the ugly, wounded part, felt a perverse sense of power. "See? I can still reach you, you can't ignore me." I was proving in the most toxic way imaginable that I still mattered. The moment the front door clicked shut behind Emily and David, the forced cheerfulness evaporated, leaving a vacuum in its place. The silence that rushed in was heavy, charged with everything unsaid. I braced myself for a fight. I expected yelling, accusations, a dramatic storming off to the bedroom. I had my counterarguments ready, my deflections primed. It was just a joke. "You're overreacting. Why can't you just take a joke?" I was ready for a battle, but Reese didn't fight. He just stood in the middle of the living room for a long moment, his back to me surveying the mess of the game. He picked up a stray blue road piece and turned it over in his fingers. Then he turned to face me, and his expression was utterly, terrifyingly calm. There was no anger, no rage. Just a profound and exhausted sadness that was 1,000 times worse. It was the face of someone who had already given up. "Sit down, Ren," he said, his voice quiet but firm. It held a note of finality that made the hairs on my arms stand up. He sat on the armchair opposite the sofa, creating a space between us that felt like a canyon. He picked up his phone from the coffee table, unlocked it, and simply placed it on the cushion between us. The screen glowed with the string of my pathetic, needy messages. A timeline of my self-destruction, each little bubble and nail in the coffin of our relationship. "I want you to tell me what you were hoping to achieve with these," he said. It wasn't an accusation, it was a genuine question, like a therapist trying to understand a patient's self-harming behavior. I was just joking, Reese," I stammered, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. "It was a stupid joke, I was just trying to be cute." He shook his head slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. The disappointment in them was a physical blow. "No. It wasn't," he said, his voice still level, still heartbreakingly calm. "A joke is something both people find funny. This was you, deliberately and repeatedly, disrespecting the one and only boundary I have ever set with you. In front of our friends, you made me a spectacle." He took a deep, shuddering breath. "We've talked about this, Ren. We've talked about my childhood. We've talked about why being present with people matters so much to me. You know exactly what that wound is, and tonight, you didn't just poke it. You took a knife and twisted it over and over while people were watching." Every word was a clean, precise cut. He wasn't attacking me, he was just laying out the facts. And the facts were damning, I had no defense. I love you, he continued, and a single tear finally escaped and traced a path down his cheek. He didn't bother to wipe it away. God, I love you so much it hurts. But I cannot build a life with someone who knows my deepest vulnerabilities and chooses to use them as a weapon when they're feeling insecure. That isn't love, Ren, that's control. He stood up then, the movement fluid and decisive. He walked over to the closet. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. What are you doing? I whispered, the words barely audible. Reese, please don't. He didn't turn around, he just pulled his duffel bag from the top shelf. And it's over. And just like that, he began to pack. No shouting, no drama, no throwing things. Just the quiet, methodical sound of clothes being folded, of a life being neatly and efficiently separated from mine. The first 24 hours were a blur of denial. I kept expecting him to walk back through the door, his anger subsided, ready to talk it through. He just needed to cool off. That's what I told myself as I sent a barrage of texts. Long, rambling apologies, frantic pleas, promises to change, even angry accusations that he was being unfair. They all went unanswered. A single damning blue tick on WhatsApp, delivered, not read. By the second day the tick disappeared, he had blocked me, panic set in, cold and sharp. This wasn't him cooling off. This was a wall. I called him and it went straight to voicemail, the same cheerful, professional recording he used for his clinic. His voice, so calm and familiar, was a special kind of torture. In a desperate move, I called Emily. I sobbed down the phone to her, painting myself as the heartbroken, confused victim. I told her how Reese had just left, how he was being so cold, so unreasonable over a silly little misunderstanding. I was counting on her loyalty to me, hoping she'd act as a mediator, tell Reese he was overreacting. But her response was the first crack in my carefully constructed reality. There was a long, uncomfortable silence on the other end of the line. When she finally spoke, her voice was strained, stripped of its usual warmth. Ren, she started, and I could hear the hesitation, the reluctance to get involved. Honestly, it was really hard to watch the other night. We all felt awkward. We all know how much Reese values that stuff, the whole being present thing. It felt like you were deliberately trying to humiliate him. Her words hit me harder than any of Reese's had. He was my boyfriend, he was supposed to see the worst in me. But Emily was an outsider, a neutral observer. Her verdict, humiliate him, made my stomach churn. It reframed my actions not as a cry for help, but as an act of public cruelty. I hung up the phone feeling slick with sweat in my hand. The final, soul-crushing blow came a few days later. I was trying to create some semblance of order, numbly clearing out the clutter in my apartment. I picked up a travel guide for Scotland that had been sitting on his bedside table for weeks. As I went and put it on the bookshelf, 2 slips of paper fell out. They were airline confirmations. 2 round-trip tickets to Inverness, departing on the Friday before my birthday next month, non-refundable, his name and mine side by side. I sank to the floor, the confirmations clutched in my hand. He had been planning a surprise. While I was busy orchestrating my pathetic little tests to prove his love, he was quietly, tangibly building our future. He was planning to take me to the one place I'd always dreamed of going. This wasn't just a breakup anymore. I hadn't just pushed him away. I had taken a sledgehammer to the beautiful, secret thing he was building for us, and I hadn't even known it was there. The weight of what I had destroyed finally crashed down on me, and for the first time, I truly, completely understood that he was never coming back. It's been a month, 31 days to be precise. The apartment has become a mausoleum filled with the ghosts of inside jokes and future plans. I still sleep on his side of the bed, a pathetic attempt to absorb any lingering trace of his scent from the pillow, but it's gone now. It just smells like me and laundry detergent and loneliness. His name is still in my contacts, a name I can't bring myself to delete, even though I know the number is a dead end. He has systematically and silently erased me from his life. Blocked, unfriended, gone, a digital ghost, but ghosts leave trails and I have become a hunter. My phone is both my tormentor and my only lifeline. Every night after the city outside has gone quiet, my grim ritual begins. It's a slow, agonizing scroll through the social media feeds of our mutual friends. I start with Emily, then David, then a half-dozen others who are still allowed in his orbit. I'm not just looking, I'm excavating. I scan tagged photos, check the comments for his name, analyze the backgrounds of strangers' pictures, hoping for a glimpse of his arm, the back of his head, anything. I'm a detective searching for clues, for any sign that he's as miserable as I am. Most nights I find nothing, but then there are nights like tonight. I'm curled up on the sofa, the blue light of my phone illuminating the darkness, my heart pounding with a sick mix of hope and dread. I'm on Emily's Instagram. She posted a new photo an hour ago. My breath catches. It's a carousel post, 7 pictures. I swipe through them with a trembling thumb. One, two, three, and then on the fourth slide, my world stops. It's a group shot from someone's birthday party, a noisy, happy picture filled with smiling faces and red plastic cups. And there he is. He's in the background, slightly out of focus, but it's unmistakably him. He's wearing the gray Henley I bought him for his last birthday. The irony is a physical pain. He's leaning against a kitchen counter talking to David, and he's laughing. It's not a polite smile for the camera. His head is thrown back, his mouth open in a genuine, uninhibited laugh. The kind of laugh I haven't heard from him in months. He looks relaxed. He looks healthy, he looks free. He looks like a man who has shed 100 pounds of dead weight. And I know, with a certainty that feels like ice water flooding my veins, that I was that weight. That's the image that will haunt my sleep tonight. Not an image of him angry or heartbroken or with a new girl draped on his arm. Just him living his life, a life that is continuing calmly and beautifully without me in it. Every post, every picture, every tag is another shovelful of dirt on the grave of what we had. He isn't punishing me. He isn't playing a game. He's just gone. And I'm stuck here in the digital hell I created for myself, my face illuminated by this tiny, glowing window into a world where I am not wanted, not needed, and not even missed. I am a ghost haunting the edges of a life I destroyed, and he doesn't even know I'm watching.